the resting of the shekinah. What does it mean, the resting of the shekinah? When we single out a specific object from the world and we say it's filled with the shekinah, by saying that the divine presence rests upon the object, its uniqueness lies the revelation of godliness and the Ein Sof light in that particular object. This means to say that this object is comprised within God's light and is nullified out of existence towards God. It has no separate identity. So when you say these words, that this object has a divine presence resting on it, what does it mean? That this object is totally nullified to God, and the only thing you see is the God's presence. For only then, when the object is totally nullified to God, can God rest upon it, upon the object, and reveal himself in it. But anything not completely nullified out of existence towards the godly light cannot have God's light rest and reveal itself within it. Even a perfect tzaddik who cleaves to God with abundant love, a most lofty level of love and attachment to God, yet even in the case of such a tzaddik, he cannot truly grasp God. For the true implication of the phrase God is the true Lord means that his unity is oneness, that he alone exists, and there's absolutely nothing besides God.
To explain in chapter 20, the statement God is one means not only that he is the sole God, but also that he is the only being that truly exists. All else is totally nullified before him.
And a tzaddik, no matter what great of a tzaddik he is, he could be the greatest tzaddik in the world, he's still in existence. Even Moshe Rabbeinu, which was the highest level, he still has an existence. This tzaddik, the person, and this tzaddik that loves God, and who is a separate being in his own self perception, as it's evident in the very fact that he loves God, rather than a non-entity, no thought of him could grasp it. So the only way you can have God reveal himself is the only way you do a mitzvah. Why? Because a mitzvah is God's will itself. There's nothing in a mitzvah of its own entity. For example, let's take tefillin. Tefillin in its own is nothing. What makes tefillin tefillin is God's will that tefillin is tefillin. So when you do a mitzvah, you have God's dwelling on it, because the mitzvah is totally nullified to God. It doesn't have its own entity. But a person, no matter how much he loves God, it's still I loving God. I love God. So there's still an I. So if there's still an I in an entity, it's not an ego, but it's a self-awareness. The fact that you're self-aware of yourself is a conflict with God, because God is the only thing that truly exists.
Right.
So when I want something to have God manifest in something, it has to be so nullified that that thing doesn't exist. But a person, even a tzaddik, the greatest level, still exists. So he can't be a abode and a dwelling place for God, because he's still in existence. And if you're in existence, God, in God's perspective, there's nothing there, there's only God. So the only thing that really has total nullification to God is the mitzvah, or Torah. Because Torah is God's knowledge, and a mitzvah is God's will. In a mitzvah, there's no part of a mitzvah that's your own mitzvah, if you're doing God's mitzvah. It's all God's will.
Right.
So when you do a mitzvah, you have God dwelling with you. When you learn Torah, you have God dwelling, but you yourself is not enough, because you are still an entity, and therefore God cannot manifest himself in it. You understand what he's saying?
Tremendous, yeah. That's why when we connect in the tefillin, it's such a tremendous thing every morning.
No, also that's the
because
difference
it's
between...
not, it cannot be an entity by itself. If we wouldn't do the actual mitzvah, then it doesn't mean anything.
And also the fact that, like you see in last week's parsha, the golden calf, right?
Yeah.
What was the problem with the golden calf? The question is obvious. They could have had, when Moshe, they wanted a leader, because
Right.
Moshe didn't come down.
Right.
So why didn't they go to Aaron? Aaron is 3 years older than Moshe.
Aaron was there anyway.
And Aaron used to do everything together with Moshe. So the best one to be in that position
Go
would
to
have been Aaron.
Why they didn't?
Why do they have to go make a golden calf? The answer is very simple. The Jews were not looking for a leader that's going to tell them what to do. They were looking for a leader that they could tell the leader how to lead.
It's the same today.
Wow.
So if they go to Aaron, they have the
So
same
nothing has
problem.
changed.
They have the same problem because Aaron's going to say, this is what God wants, this is what God wants, this is what God wants. When they make their golden calf, means they form out what they want the leader to be.
They should tell him.
They form what the leader should be. That's what they were looking for.
Unbelievable.
Why? Because to be totally nullified to God, that can't happen by a human being. But when you do God's mitzvah, you're totally nullified to God.
Okay.
So doing a mitzvah is infinitely more nullification to God than loving God. Loving God means I love God. So there's an I that loves God. When you do a mitzvah, it's not I, it's God's will.
Okay.
So then I'm totally nullified to God.
Okay.
You get the difference?
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Amen.
Amen. So when you say I love God,
Yeah.
so it's all you loving God.
Right.
So even though you're taka tzaddik and but still it's you that loves God. So there's a you and there's an I that loves God. A mitzvah, it's not me, it's God's will for the mitzvah to be done. So it has nothing to do with me. So therefore the mitzvah is totally nullified to God. You getting what I just said here?
Absolutely.
Look, even a tzaddik cannot grasp God and thereby become one with Him through the faculties of his own soul. Therefore, God's light does not abide or manifest itself in him except through the fulfillment of the mitzvah, which constitute God's actual will and wisdom without any concealment and continence. Since the inner aspect of the divine will stands revealed only in the mitzvahs, it is only by means of them that the light of the shekinah rests upon them, man, not through spiritual devotion alone. That's why Ein Sof rests on Chachma, because Chachma is totally nullified to God, and it's non-existence, and therefore it rests only upon Chachma. So, my dear friends, you want God to be resting on you? You have to be totally nullified. How? Only by doing the mitzvah of Hashem or learning the Torah. There's no other way. If you love God, you're not totally nullified because it's I loving God.